Welcome to the... Do you do that on purpose? I can't tell if you do that on purpose or if you're just madness.
It's all part of the magic. Don't
Is
edit
it?
it out.
I'm editing. This is all going on the cutting room floor.
Oh,
Welcome of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, perhaps too frequently, some would argue. This is Aaron.
I want the names and addresses of those that would argue too frequently. Clearly, I'm the funny one, and I'm the Costanza, and you're the Jerry. You're the straight man.
Okay.
I'm the character.
That is sad but true. And go to our page on Facebook at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. Go to our page on Twitter at TPodcastTWDie. Email us at thepodcastthatwouldn't.gmail.com. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc., etc.
And just a truth disclaimer, we are re-recording it because we were going to post the one we already did, which was probably the better one, except you can't hear Kevin at all. And Lord knows, we're at this point, we're not buying mixers and stuff. It's all free podcast software for us.
Yeah, you get what you pay for. So we pass the savings on to you.
That's right. So every now and then I may ask Kevin why I wrote down something in my notebook so he can tell me what the hell I was thinking at the time.
So you still have your notes.
That's quality radio. I have a special book. It is a Moleskine book where I have written my name and address, and it says the reward, and I wrote eternal gratitude. If lost, return to me.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. Yeah, my notes for this movie, we haven't even told you what movie we're doing. This is The Omega Man, starring Charlton Heston from 1971.
Yes, that is correct.
Very good. See, I'm doing it all from memory. That's how we do it. I was a theater major. There you go. Minor in improv, perhaps.
And memory is that why you had those tap shoes so you can remember the Omega Man? Thank you, San Diego State University. Only the finest.
Only the finest. I had the Barry Manilow collection white tap shoes. So that was good. The ladies loved it, let me tell you. So.
Did you have the white John Travolta suit to go with it?
With the black shirt, black button up with no buttons. It was open all the way to the navel. So
that was before men started waxing their chests.
Yeah, I never got on board with that. I like to keep, just like Charlton Heston, I like to keep natural. You know what I'm saying?
I absolutely understand. And I have one question for you. In my notes under the Omega Man 1971, I see that I've written Charlton Heston by crikey Steve Irwin. Why did I write that?
I have no idea why you wrote by crikey Steve Irwin. I cannot hope to decipher your meanderings. I don't know. At one point, he's wearing kind of a snazzy safari jacket. Does that make you think of Steve Irwin?
Maybe I'm thinking he looks like Steve Irwin. If Steve Irwin was the king of like early 70s, late 60s leisure wear.
We are. It's entirely possible. Charlton Heston in this movie he's either wearing the safari jacket, he's wearing kind of an Adidas jumpsuit, or he's going topless. So those are your choices. He also has a crushed green velvet suit with a lacy cravat that he often gets into.
For God's sakes, I wish we could find that. That could be our cover art. You dressed up like that.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Maybe we should get to telling what this movie's about. Aaron, do you have any recollection of what the Omega Man's about?
Going with our dystopian future theme, It is post-apocalyptic world, some crazy disease, most of the population is dead, except for Charlton Heston, who made some kind of vaccine, and a group of mutants and people who just haven't quite turned yet. But otherwise, it's tumbleweeds rolling through LA. Well, part of the problem is the disease, after it makes you an albino, it also starts actually making you crazy.
That is correct. So you become an albino mutant who, your brain is going crazy. So you're trying to kill old Chuck, basically.
Exactly. Yeah, for some reason now they're enraged with Charlton Heston because he's not jacked like they are. So their focus, they hide during the day because they got like the disease from like Nicole Kidman's kids from the others. And they creep out at night, and all they do is try to F with Heston.
That's correct. Yeah, the story takes place in Los Angeles, the year 1977, if I remember.
That's
correctly.
Right. You would have been 2. So the question is, would you have been a mutant? Would you have been one of the orphan children that we will learn about later on, or did we all just perish?
It's hard to say, honestly, because I guess it's some kind of biological warfare. And there's this whole montage of people like on the street, like clutching their throat spontaneously and just dropping dead. But then you've got the albino mutants. So I don't know. Some people became mutants, but everybody's infected except for old Charlton, evidently.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's certain people who get it and down they go. And then clearly there's others where it's a slow roll.
It's a slow roll. Very much so. So the movie starts out. Here's Charlton rolling through abandoned Los Angeles, but, it basically looks like, 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning. Then he turns on this street, and it goes from perfectly manicured, clean area to one street, cars turned over, body laying in the street. Very apocalyptic. Maybe just the neighborhood. It's hard to say.
I mean, and by apocalyptic, we mean there's 2 dead bodies and mostly just wadded up newspaper, because the sign of end times is people wad up newspaper and balls of newspaper come rolling down the street. That's how
That's correct. So he's basically, because the family, which is what the brother or the crazy mutants call themselves, because they're kind of like a religious cult, are trying to kill him.
The Manson family was not that long ago.
Yes.
So people are still freaked about cults and the word "the family." Yep. So they're playing on everybody's fears.
So basically, it's a sad situation. They have to stay out during the day because they're crazy albinos. But at night, they go and try to break into Charlton's bunker, basically. We're throwing, Molotov cocktails, launching catapult boulders up onto his balcony. So Charlton doesn't want this to occur. So by day, he goes door by door, building by building, floor by floor, and tries to find the family to kill them first, essentially, right?
It seems to me that they're in the house next door to him. Am I crazy? Because at one point they're pouring gasoline on him as he's trying to go into his driveway.
Yeah, they know where he is because he's the only place that has power, and he's playing classical music.
He turns the fountain on. He's got spotlights going. So it's like a big arrow. I am here. I am here.
Yeah. So brother Matthias and his freakish mutants attack him every night. And Charlton's plan, rather than just pack up and move while they're asleep during the day, he's like, in a city of 9 million people, I'm going to systematically track them down, I guess, right? There's 12 people in the family, allegedly, and yet I'm going to, yes, good luck with that, Chuck.
It's ding dong daddy-o. He could have literally moved to the valley or whatever, because apparently he also can find, gas doesn't go stale in this post-apocalyptic world, and cars start right away. No worries about dead batteries either. He could have, even if he moved one sculpture every day, He has nothing but time. He could have moved away, and they would have never had any idea where he was.
Exactly.
It's so ding dong. I'm not going to be moved out of my house. Yeah. So you're just going to run a gauntlet every day with fireballs coming through your house.
Yeah. Pretty standard for old Chuck. Well, you know, at the time he was a member of the NRA, so he's got guns, he's got bourbon, he's ready to roll.
From his cold dead hands.
From his cold dead hands. It's a sad situation. He's kind of nutty as well, because I guess it's been, I don't know, 3 or 4 years since the plague took out everybody.
That's
and he's
right.
had only himself to talk to, basically.
No, he has not found a friend, and he certainly had no woman. But that's about to change.
That's about to change. He spends his days going to the one movie theater in Los Angeles that still works, and watching Woodstock? Is that what it is?
Watching Woodstock. I can't imagine anything that Chuck Heston would hate more than looking at a bunch of hippies.
Right. That's correct.
I can't. I'm trying to. I have an image of my mind: Chuck Heston, or, I don't know, Ronald Reagan, and who else? All hanging
John
out
Wayne.
Together. Putting on some Crosby, Stills now. John Wayne.
Say that. Yeah, watching Neil Young sing his peace, love, and harmony.
Sing to me, brother. Sing to me. Yeah. Exactly.
Good times. So we literally watch him watch 10 minutes of this movie. 10 minutes of the time for the Omega Man is spent watching the Woodstock movie. I don't know if they were trying to recoup some of their investment. The people who made that movie with Omega Man. It's very upsetting. It's very upsetting.
It's as bad as Logan's Run, where we have to listen to half the of Cats being read to us. I thought I was going to kill myself.
It's a sad situation. So eventually, the crazy mutants come and chase him, and they kidnap him, right? And they take him to a football stadium to, I guess, crucify him? Is that their plan? And he gets rescued by the crazy hippies, right? They turn on the lights of the stadium.
Yeah.
And he discovers now, I'm not the last man on Earth. There are these relatively healthy people still around, right?
He saw this chick who looked like Cleopatra Jones cruising around the mall near his house.
Big afro, as was the time. I think she posed for one of those pictures in The Shining. But, he could not capture her. No. Because he's used to, the only people he sees are the mutants, and he's kind of nuts, so he's not sure if he's hallucinating, because there's a lot of, like, the phones are ringing all over town. No, they're not ringing. The phones are not ringing, because he doesn't know if he's crazy or what. So,
well, go answer the phone, man.
Go answer the phone. Why not? What do you have to lose at this stage of the game?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And all he does is he talks. He has like a bust of Caesar or somebody dressed up that he plays chess with. Like, that's going to work.
Your move, Imperator. That's what he does. So he turns on the hi-fi. He's like, it's Sunday. I always dress for dinner on Sunday. And that's when he dusts off his crushed green velvet sport coat, lacy cravat, which I'm not sure was big even in 71. I got to be honest with you.
He looks like one of Herman's Hermits or one of the Birds.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking more of that kind of groovy part of the 60s.
It is. It's Austin Powers, essentially.
It is Austin Powers. Yeah. Good call.
So oh, Lord. So he spends his nights drinking bourbon while the crazy family are trying to attack him. He leaves the doors open of his balcony while like arrows are flying by, and he's just taking it all in. I might close the balcony windows.
He goes out there. It's like, you damn kids, get off my lawn.
Right. Yes. It's very much Gran Torino, basically. He's crispy old Clint Eastwood up there waving his fist. It's very upsetting. So
Yeah, if Clint Eastwood had no neighbors and there
Right.
really wasn't a movie at all.
just in general.
Just in general. When
So-
I think Krusty, I think of Clint.
Exactly. So he's now found that there is, what is it? There's 2 adults that are relatively human and a bunch of kids. And they tell him, yo, we're also infected, but we still have our wits about us. And we're trying to figure out how to stop the infection. Because, like, what is it?
Yeah,
Richie,
how do
the
they
little
know
brother.
how do they know they're infected? I mean, I know Richie, who is the fake kid from Good Times, because he's really not the kid from Good Times.
No,
but
he's
it
from
looks
St.
like
Elsewhere.
Yeah, we already been through that.
Yes. Well, they don't know that. On a previous recording, we had a long discussion about Good Times, What's Happening, and the Jeffersons.
Too bad you won't hear about that.
You will not hear about that. So he's got kind of the Bride of Frankenstein going on, where it's like his hair is dark, but he's got little white streaks are appearing. So he's slowly starting to become a crazy mutant.
No, what it is, it's the Ron Popeil hair in a can. Now we call it style edit, and it's for ladies who want to cover up their regrowth. But back in the day, it was hair in a can, and you could just spray that on your hair. And that's what exactly this looks like. Some nonsense. They sprayed a little bit on his afro.
It's a healthy choice. So basically, it's basically there's like a groovy African American chick and this hippie guy who I guess was pre-med and therefore knows a little bit about medicine, and he just assumes everybody is infected because I guess he did some blood tests.
Right.
But old Charlton's like, hey, I've got the vaccine in my blood. So at this point,
yeah, if he had the vaccine, why didn't he inoculate anybody else? And maybe that's why the mutants are trying to kill him, because he's a dick.
Well, that could be. But what they said was he tried to kidnap one of the mutants and tried to do a vaccine on him, but that damn mutant nearly killed me, or something along those lines. And so at that point, he's just like, it's easier for me to just shoot you than try to cure you. So we're good. But now that he's found people that are humanish, he's like, okay, well, I'll get back to the laboratory and try to solve the problem, basically, right?
How good of you. No, now that he's having sex on a regular basis, now I will work to save my fellow man.
Yes. And we talked about on the previous attempt at this, just the sheer unbridled racism of this. The one African-American character, actually there's 2 African-American characters. There's the mutant African-American brother Zachary, who's very upset that old Charlton is living up in his honky paradise, brother. And then you meet, what's her name? Is it Sylvia? Good Lord. He meets Sylvia, who is like, freeze, sucker. Talking like Honey West or somebody, if you catch that reference from the 70s. And again, it's very much like what old white men imagine African Americans in the 70s would talk like. It's very offensive.
Exactly.
You know? At one point she volunteers, hey, I'm from Harlem, by the way, even though we're in Los Angeles. Why does she have to be from Harlem? Racism.
Exactly. It's all racism.
It's all racism, but it's also very progressive because Charlton gets down with Sylvia. They're hooking up, and this is very progressive. It was like, hey.
And trust me, he let everyone know it was very progressive on his part, and he was cool with women of all ethnicities.
He does not.
And
judge.
to prove it, he put a big smooch on Whoopi Goldberg. He's claiming that like he's really the dude who did the first interracial smooch.
That's right. He said I solved racism, Whoopi.
Yes,
back in 71.
That's right. Racism. He claims that racism was all over back then. Back in 71, they'd already put an end to racism. Good to know.
Courtesy of the Omega Man. Yeah,
that's right. We didn't know that racism was over. I guess we weren't paying attention.
We have not even talked about the fact that there are far too many scenes of shirtless, sweaty Charlton running around town with his creepy yellow dentures in his receding hairline. It's very upsetting.
His clothes, and he has another Charlton Heston where he's sweaty and has a bathe. He smells like onions, leather, high karate, Pall Malls, and scotch.
Yeah, pretty standard. There's a lot of that.
And you're like, but he's so tan. No, he's not. That ain't a tan. He's like smoked like a ham. I bet if it rained, it'd just be streaks coming down him.
It's rough sledding. That is definitely the most terrifying part of this movie, is just knowing sweaty Charlton's going to pull off that, or wipe his pits off and just throw it to the side. Very upsetting.
Oh man! Eventually it starts forming crystals of stank like rock candy.
Maybe we should move on before we all toss our cookies. Sweet Jesus. So Miraculous cures Richie. Sylvia's like, hey, let's shopping for clothes at Nordstrom's. I'll be back, even though there's mutants everywhere. Richie, who's cured, is like, hey, I'm going to go talk to the family on my own. Hope that's cool. So he disappears.
Yeah, I don't think he cleared that with anyone.
No, he did not.
He was just a good soul.
Yeah.
And at one point they were with the family before the family's brain rotted and they went crazy. Back when the family used to help people and when they were burying bodies and stuff. So poor little Richie wants to go back and save some people and share his good news. No good deed goes unpunished.
It's true. Basically, like I said, the family's this cult led by Brother Matthias. And early on, they were gatherers and cleaning up the streets, evidently. And Sylvia and Richie they were running with them until, I guess, when cleanup was over in a city of 9 million people.
I saw some newspaper they forgot.
They forgot that. Clearly one street they missed. The mutants started to turn people who weren't quite as infected as they were with a suspicious eye.
Isn't that racism?
It is. It's reverse mutantism, evidently.
It's mutanism, exactly.
Who are basically like, we cast aside all science and technology and engineering because they're to blame for our open oozing sores and albinism.
That's what I was trying to figure out. Do they know something specifically about Charlton Heston? Because it seems like he was a scientist. Is he somehow responsible for all this disease and stuff? Because it was kind of like alluding to it. Did he work for the government?
Yes, he worked for the military. And
military scientist.
Yes,
it's his fault. This is his fault.
They don't go so far as to say that the United States invented the the chemical weapon, come up with the vaccine.
It's not the Canadians.
It's hard to say. I can't definitely clear them. I got to be honest with you.
All right.
But I don't think they know that he's to blame. I think they just healthy dude who can go drink his bourbon, smoke his Pall Malls, and they're jealous. So it's become like a kind of a Luddite Amish thing where they're like, we don't use technology and we hate you if you do use tech. They blame it on the wheel. Oh my
gosh. Should I be scared of the Amish now?
You should.
Are they going to come for me because I have a microwave?
It's entirely possible. I don't think we have to fear the Amish too much because I doubt they're listening. But
well, that's true. But what if they're on Rumspringa?
Then in that case, run for your lives. Yes.
They're going to run me down with their horse carriage.
They just may. I watch Witness. I know how it goes down. So that's how they roll. So anywho, my understanding is that's why they're after Charlton, because he uses electricity. He's playing his hi-fi records and his 8-track.
Not his reel-to-reel.
This is reel-to-reel. Oh yeah. Good times. So Richie goes and tries to convince the mutants to come back and we can cure you. Mutants are like, no, how dare you? We're not down with that. So they kill poor Richie. Poor Richie. Sylvia goes off to go shopping. She puts on a big headscarf over her huge afro. But then the grand reveal, she pulls the headscarf away. And now she's a crazy mutant with wide eyes. So she's now a mutant.
Which was once again interesting because her brother, it took weeks for him to just go half albino.
Yeah.
And like in a matter of seconds, it was like bazinga. Now you got it.
Ball game. I guess it affects people at different rates, allegedly.
Apparently.
So she now fully mutated. She allows, she shows brother old Chuck, who is promptly shot with a spear, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's about to be killed. But then what happens? I don't know. The sun comes up and the mutants run off. I don't know.
Yeah. It's pretty much that.
Right.
Yeah. The sun comes up, so they gotta go.
Yeah.
They've tilly-tallied too long.
Yeah. So hippie doctor shows up with all of his crazy children that he's surrounded himself with. They grab mutant Sylvia, who's now curled up in a ball in the sun.
Which, excuse me. So as long as you curl up in a ball, it's cool. Everybody else can't even be out during the day. But not only does the sunlight not seem to affect her, because she gets up and walks around, she also doesn't turn to powder. She doesn't die, and now she has her sense back.
Oh,
hello.
I don't know if they established that they turn to dust or anything, or if it's
they're not vampire.
They're not vampire, or if it's just kind of uncomfortable for them. You know what I mean?
You mean like when I go out into the full sun and I'm like, ooh,
yes,
makes my skin red.
Yeah, they don't tan, they burn. Evidently, is the moral of the story.
Then they must be Irish, I guess.
Could be when Irish eyes are smiling. So Charlton tosses them the vaccine, like in a vial, I guess, and they grab old Sylvia, and Charlton expires on the cross, very biblically,
like Jesus,
almost exactly the way Jesus did. So
yeah, they were getting deep, very deep. Jesus and Green Velvet.
That is sad but true. Now, this movie was originally a book by Richard Matheson called Legend.
Is that relation to Tim Matheson?
It is, actually. It's his third cousin, once removed on his mother's side.
You're such a liar.
Yeah. As far as I know, there's no relation to old Tim Matheson, who you know better as Otter from Animal House, among other things.
And
yes,
yours, mine, and ours.
Oh, yes, of course. There you go. If Animal House didn't get the job done, yours, mine, and ours will definitely seal the deal.
He was younger in that. I think that came first.
It came much earlier. Anywho, in this story, I Am Legend, the character Robert Neville that Charlton Heston plays, it's basically the beats are the same, but instead of crazy albino mutants, they're literally vampires. And he's the last man on Earth. Everybody else has been turned into a vampire.
Not related to Aaron Neville?
Aaron Neville or Robbie Neville and the Neville brothers. You know them, don't you?
I've never saw I Am Legend all the way through.
Well, let me break it down for you. So you have the book first, where instead of mutants, they are vampires. Then in I believe it was the early 60s, late 50s, Vincent Price starred in the first adaptation called The Last Man in the World, where it's more or less a straight adaptation.
Last Man on Earth?
Yes, what did I say? Last Man in the World?
Oh, yes.
Last Man on Earth, which is more or less a straight adaptation. Then in the early 70s, we had Omega Man. Why is it called Omega Man?
Omega is the end, the last man.
So the last man.
The Alpha, the Omega. That's
Very
all
good.
I remember from my Catholic upbringing.
It's all Greek to me. So, anywho, thank you. I'm here all week. Then we've got the Will Smith movie, I Am Legend. Apparently, they are vampires, but they look kind of like weird naked aliens. It's all very complicated. It was kind of lousy. In my honest opinion, if you've seen Will Smith's I Am Legend, I don't know what to say. Don't ever watch it again.
I feel that Will Smith can act, but I think he chooses not to.
Okay.
You know, like Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp has established He knows how to act.
Yes.
He can go deep. He chooses not to.
As long as he has more scarves than Jagger, he is definitely on board. Anyway, now the reason why I Am Legend, because basically he was going out in this book, and I guess in the movie as well, all the livelong day. And that night they were trying to get at him. What he discovered is, because the vampires eventually kidnap him, is that because he was killing them while they slept, he essentially became like a legendary creature to them, like the boogeyman.
That sounds interesting. He's the bad guy. It's like Blade Runner. It's the old switcheroo.
It's a switcheroo. It was basically, he realized, because evidently not all the vampires were bad guys. It's like, it wasn't their fault.
We're just trying to raise our family, man.
Right. Leave us alone, bro. So he became the boogeyman, climbing in their window and killing them in their sleep. So he became the legend at that point. That's what the title is supposed to mean. So take that with a grain of salt.
So, quite frankly,
yes.
They're obviously such loving people because they kidnapped him instead of just killing him immediately.
Right. I think
Can't we all just get along?
I think it was like, because they're a civilized society, they arrested him, essentially, and we're going to give him a public exexecution as a part of their thing, is my understanding. I read the book.
How does it end?
Ago. It ends with him realizing that I am legend. I am the legend, unwittingly have become this
the monster.
Character. Unwittingly
the
became
boogeyman. I'm the boogeyman.
He was about to bite the dust, evidently. So that's how it is. So there you have it. An excellent book. I've never seen the Vincent Price Last Man in the World.
I always thought that was the title of a David Bowie album.
It could be. Anything's Ziggy Stardust. Anything's possible. Ground Control.
Ground Control, Major Tom. Maybe he does a cameo.
You?
Well, let's put it in the rotation, shall we?
Might as well. George Romero's mentioned that the Last Man on Earth inspired his movie Night of the Living Dead. Essentially, the hoarding masses of undead characters trying to get into your bunker kind of thing. That inspired him.
Did I tell you our local community theater is doing Night of the Living Dead, the musical?
I wasn't aware there was a musical of some sort.
God bless community theater.
Is it an original musical?
I don't know.
Come from somewhere else.
There's this crap pops up on your Facebook. Oh, events near you.
So you're going, right?
I will investigate that. But problem is, I don't know if you know this, but not a lot of women like horror movies or horror-related things. I have people who won't listen to our podcast because even though we may be funny, we're talking about scary things.
That is true. True on both counts,
yeah.
As far as I'm concerned. Good times.
Or at least that's what they tell me why they're not listening.
That's the word on the street. Now, I remember two more interesting bits of trivia.
Yeah.
The fountain where poor old Charlton bites the dust at the end of the movie actually became the fountain that they used in the opening credits of Friends.
You mean that wasn't filmed in New York?
It was not. As shocking, I know. And
do you know that's my theme in my classroom this year?
It wasn't filmed in New York?
Damn you. Hey, yes, I only have posters of things not filmed in New York. That's the theme.
What was even more shocking is the fact that his bunker eventually became Central Perk. So there you have it.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's a joke, by the way.
Maybe. Damn you. You speak with such authority. Damn your eyes.
Thank you. I'm here all week. Now
I want to talk about the leader, the guy who plays what's his name?
Brother Matthias. Not Malachi. Not Mateo.
Brother Matthias. Anthony Zerbe.
Yep.
Or is it? Am I saying it right?
What am I, his biographer?
All right. Because this dude is literally in everything. I'm not sure if he's dead, but if he's alive, he's in 5 movies this year. All right, he was in the best adaptation of a Stephen King novel, The Dead Zone.
And who was he in The Dead Zone? Do you remember?
No, hang on.
Hit me.
I think was he on the campaign? He wasn't the president, but I think he worked on that campaign, maybe.
I honestly don't remember.
Since I saw it. I can't remember.
Sweet Jesus.
But he has a prominent role.
Okay.
He was in Cool Hand Luke. He was in The Matrix. He was Licensed to Kill.
Yes.
He was at Kiss Meets the Phantom, where Kiss is a superhero, and it all takes place at Magic Mountain.
Yep. He was a Bond villain, like you said. He was the skeezy guy in License to Kill. Robert Davi, the drug dealer, thinks he's betrayed him, so he throws him in a decompression chamber and turns up the juice.
He gets the bends.
His head explodes, which I'm not sure that's exactly what occurs, but sounds good to me. It's just good science.
I think so.
Yeah. He's all over the place. So yeah, he's Brother Matthias. Brother Matthias, the head of the Twisted Albino Mutants. There was another actor that I looked up. When Charlton meets the weird like the normal humans, right? The young kids, the little Asian kid who pulls a machine gun on Charlton later went on to great fame as Takashi in Revenge of the Nerds. And he was also in a number of Police Academy movies. So there you have it.
Jesus, how old is he?
I mean, at the time he was young. I mean, he was in.
No, now. How old is he right now?
I don't know.
Because when was Revenge of the Nerds?
Revenge of the Nerds was about 83, and like the Police Academy movies are probably like around 85, thereabouts. So
interesting. So he's getting long in the tooth.
Like 12 or something in Omega Man, and he was like in his late 20s in the 80s or something. So
he was 11 or 12. So maybe we're a little closer in age than I thought.
Yeah, he's your old friend. He's a peer.
Did you go to Palm Springs High School?
Maybe he did. Good times. Can you think of any other interesting or bizarre facts that we may have forgotten?
I'm telling you, this was the golden age of Heston, I think. I mean, when was the Planet of the Apes? Then we have this. Then we have Soylent Green.
Oh, yes.
I don't know. Did he fall off a burning building or a capsized ship? But because he was in everything.
Yeah, basically, it had been quite a few years since the 10 Commandments, and he's just like, you know what, I got to pay my bill. So Planet of the Apes, where do I sign?
These guns ain't going to buy themselves.
Pretty much. He's like, I'll even be in Beneath the Planet of the Apes if you want. Do whatever you need. Soylent Green,
as long as I can keep funneling the money to the NRA, sign me up.
He was only about 50 in these movies, but I swear to God, he looks 75. It's very upsetting.
He was 50 in those movies. Wow.
Yeah. It's a sad situation. Hard times. But this is definitely, the 70s are great because you had all the big stars from the 40s and 50s who are now, Hollywood's not knocking on their doors.
They don't have those big contracts. They don't have a guaranteed check anymore. Now everybody's a free agent.
So I will be in every sci-fi horror, The Blob. I'll be in The Thing with Two Heads, whatever you need. It is the golden age. It is the golden age. No, The Bride of the Blob. Whatever you need. I got me bills to pay.
I think that's a movie that needs to be written. Kevin, get on that. You haven't sold that Zombie Island thing you were working on. Maybe the Bride of the Blob.
The Bride of the Blob. That'll be the sequel that we've all been waiting for. So, anything else that we could think of?
I can't think of a damn thing. I'm sure as soon as we end this podcast, 12 things will pop into my head.
It's a sad situation. Anywho, well, thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, you know what?
What?
It's the man who fell to earth. That's the David Bowie. Not the last man on the world. It's the man who fell to earth. Just, do you see how it happens?
Yeah. Exact same thing. I understand.
Maybe it's like the soundtrack or something.
Could be.
Don't know.
His eyes were 2 different colors, by the way. Nothing's more terrifying than that.
That's like a husky.
Exactly. So thank you for joining us. Go to our page on Facebook at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. Go to our page on Twitter at TPodcastTWDie. Email us at thepodcastthatwouldn'tdie at Gmail. Like, share, and subscribe. Cast and Spotify. Aaron, you are also on Twitter, I believe.
I am the cult of Aaron. And
Yep.
I want you all to watch Los Espookys on HBO. It is dynamite. But don't be a jerk and not watch it just because it's subtitled. You need to watch it.
We're good. We're good for it.
It forced me to deep dive like a Spanish language 80s new wave. It was amazing.
Oh, perfect. We are, I mean, in all honesty, we are down for whatever. At some point, we're going to be doing
It's a series,
movies
honey. It's a series. Do you hear me? I just called you honey. Like you're my child.
Please, never do that again.
It's a comedy series, but it's Los Espookys.
Gotcha. We will be doing movies with subtitles in the future at some point. Maybe sooner than you think.
Maybe.
So get ready. Let the good times roll. So thank you for joining us, and be well.
Be well. Live long and prosper.